Hello, my name is Richard Procida. This is the screening of the movie The Red Pill, A Feminist Journey into the Men's Rights Movement. And this is being done by a number of groups, the Election Response Center. I want to thank these groups for helping Whittier Indivisible, Not Above the Law, the National Coalition for Men, and of course, the nonpartisan Red Pill Men's Group. And the Nonpartisan Red Pill Men's Group is a podcast and also a group where we discuss the issues. Like I said, this show is being recorded. It's going to be posted on YouTube, Facebook, and on a small low-power radio station in Oregon called KJAJ. Please like and share our shows and subscribe to our YouTube page and on Facebook. We're also having a meeting next week, and we have one on the first Sunday of the month, same time, 2 o'clock. We're doing a study of Rollo Tomasi's book, The Rational Male, and you can register for all of those, that whole series, at tinyurl.com/redpillmen.
All right, thanks, Michael, and thanks, Cassie. We're going to turn it over to ask the questions that we put together towards the audience. You're, of course, welcome to stay and listen in to, some more feedback about the film, and or chime in if you feel something, you want to answer something, but I'll turn it over to Donna for right now.
Thank you, Stephanie. So again, the question is to the audience, and raise your hands if you'd like to answer it. Which story or issue in the film did you find most compelling to make the case that men were being treated unfairly? A story or issue from the film that you felt emphasized men are being treated unfairly. So we have Anne and Christopher, your hands are still raised from before. Anne, would you like to address this? Or Christopher, Anne?
No, I want to mention that I think the editing was very unfair to feminists because all they showed were people screaming and cursing in men's faces, and I don't think that that's how all feminists operate. Most feminists don't operate like that. They're very intelligent. And I also wanted to know why she never followed up to find out why these men's groups were posting those horrible things that were shown in the beginning of the film.
So Anne, thank you for your comment. We've kind of moved on now to questions that we're asking the audience, but please go ahead and put that in the chat. And then hopefully Cassie can talk to you afterwards via email. We have everybody's email. So thank you. Chris, do you want to answer that question about what issue or something from the film that you thought made the case?
Yeah, I thought one of the most powerful things in the documentary was when she did her flow charts between men's options, the father's options, and woman mother's options in terms of not just abortion, but also going into the parenting. And I thought that was really a significant analysis there that I would encourage Cassie to share that more widely because I thought that made the picture more clear than almost anything could, how unbalanced things have gotten. And I was formerly a feminist supporter, but I've gotten to where I see, like a lot of human movements that are good at first, it has gone too far. The pendulum swings too far a lot of times, and I think that's the case with a lot of things in feminism. And the two things is, one is that.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. We're trying to keep comments to about 2 minutes or answers, I should say. So, thank you for that. And I'm just going to keep it moving along because we have so many people who want to say something. So Dale, how about you? An incident or something from the film that you felt made the case that men are being treated unfairly?
I don't remember his name, but the man who was saying, it's not you that they will send off to die, it's me. And that the idea, I hadn't thought of it before. I've been teaching this kind of thing for years, but that had never crossed my mind. That yes, I think our men, our boys are raised with a different expectation that is completely unfair. But I want to just quickly add, They wouldn't be going to war if we didn't have the war. And we have to find a different language, not feminism and not patriarchy, because patriarchy, it's not about gender. It used to be, but it's not anymore. It's about a paradigm shift from patriarchy, and believe me, women can be just as patriarchal as men, and men can be feminists. I mean, it's not about gender. It's about the concept of domination, control, the things that we attribute to patriarchy, but it's not about gender. We have to find a different vocabulary.
Okay, thank you, Dale. That's a very interesting point. Thanks for making it. And now on to Patsy.
I love the film. I just, in so many ways, it just made my brain explode with so many issues I hadn't thought about before. And one of the most poignant for me was to see these young men who, felt sort of tricked into being fathers and yet weren't able to really participate in the parenting and the grief that they experienced. And I could just, I can just imagine how hard that is. And I hadn't really thought about that before, but it just made me really sad for them.
Yeah, I agree. I hadn't thought about that before either. So that's one thing I love about this film is it shows different perspectives that maybe we hadn't considered. So yeah, okay. And let's see, Rich, you've already spoken, so I'm going to go on to Randy. Unmute yourself, Randy.
Yep, I just did. First of all, I want to say that my son introduced me to this film, I think, when it first came out, and I was very grateful to him for even introducing me. So I've had a lot of time to think about it. The part of the film that really hit me, and I know this is something my son had said to me years ago, when they talk about women and men, women and children going before men, it's sort of like, but men are people too, and they're human beings, and don't they count? And so, I mean, I don't know how you make the decision, but it just, the whole leaving of men out as if they're not important. And I mean, I have a zillion other thoughts, but I won't take everybody's time. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, it kind of goes to me. It kind of goes back to the Middle Ages or earlier, the chivalry, right? It's chivalrous for the man to go down with the ship. Of course, they didn't have those big ships back then in the Middle Ages. They had horses and jousting, but yeah. So that was the chivalry. And do we need that anymore? We probably don't need that anymore. But an interesting point. And now I want to go to Cynthia King. Kudos to Cynthia because she is the one who suggested to us to show the film The Red Pill. She brought it to our attention. So Cynthia, thank you so very much for doing that. And you have a comment about something you found profound in the movie?
You're welcome. And it was interesting to watch it again after I saw it years ago and bought it and kept it on my shelf. Mother of 3 sons, all in their 30s now. And what really struck me was the question of, are men disposable? That when women die, they say women died. And when men die, they don't know. And I would, until I saw that, would have assumed that if you say 100 people died, I would have assumed it was 100 people of various. I wouldn't have considered, they mean 100 teenage boys died or something like that. The only other concern I had looking back is having had 3 children and then 2 stepchildren. There was no discussion. I assumed that the people making this film had never been pregnant. And so my response to the thing at the end on whether women should be drafted was, we've never discussed the pain, physical damage, risk of death and injury that comes with every pregnancy. And each pregnancy is an entire year of a woman's life, not to mention the rest of the time. You can't share parenting until after it's born and weaned. And you can share a little, but it can't be equal. And I felt like that should be considered. if they ever start to talk about drafting women, I'll be right there testifying on the dangers of pregnancy and that women are drafted the day we're born.
Comment to that, Cynthia. Have you given birth yourself?
Yes, 3 times. I have 3 children of my,
times.
and then
And-
I married a man who had 2 children, and then he
Okay.
died, left them to me.
Okay, well, you know what you're talking about. Okay, we're going to take one more person, and Donna, since you've spoken already, George, you'll be the last commenter.
Yeah, I'm a divorced father, went through a custody battle, so much of this was familiar to me. But the question around what was unfair, most of the time I look at the movie and said, well, it's all about because the perspectives of men and women are different and their experiences are different. So it's really the question unfair is not that great. But there are a couple things that really strike me that is, quote, unfair. That is definitely unfair that men get sentenced to longer, much longer criminal sentences than women do. That is a pretty hard statistic. That's totally unfair. And the other unfair is that the fact that men at the top dominate society then is applied to all the men. So it makes it very hard for a regular man to be regular because he's being compared to those that he cannot compare himself against.
Okay, thank you, Joris.